I honestly did not care whether I lived or died. But now, I can...
You think if he... you think if he didn't go to death row, would he still be alive?
Wow. It's hard to say.
I can't leave until this shit is straight. You know, I'm not... I can't go until y'all really know what time it is.
For nearly 30 years, we've all accepted the same story about what happened to Tupac. Vegas, drive-by, 6 days in the hospital, done. Case closed. But now Maprem Shakur, Tupac's actual brother, is sitting on Piers Morgan's show basically saying we've been fed a load of lies this whole time. This isn't some random YouTuber with a crazy theory. This is family. This is a guy who grew up with Tupac and knew him better than anyone. And he's looking straight into the camera with a calm but intense expression and suggesting that everything we thought we knew is complete nonsense. When Piers asks him about Diddy's denials, you know, all those times Diddy swore he had nothing to do with Tupac's death, Maprem doesn't buy it. Not even close. He's got serious doubts, and he's not afraid to say it publicly.
What did he say that day when he called you?
You know, I had my guys with me, Thug Life guys, and we heard what he had to say. He basically said he ain't have nothing to do with my brother's murder.
Maprem told Diddy years ago that the truth always comes out. That was back in 2008 when Diddy actually called him, trying to convince the family he was innocent. And now, 17 years later, Maprem's sitting there saying, we're going to see what the real truth is. That's not random speculation. That's someone who knows more than he's letting on. You can see it in his eyes. There's something deeper here. And think about it. If your brother was M'd and you truly believe the official story, would you be on national TV questioning everything? Probably not. You'd want closure. You'd want to move on. But Maprem is still fighting for answers 3 decades later.
I get the feeling quite strongly that you don't believe Diddy. I don't think you believe a word of it.
Seems like he got a whole bunch of power, like absolute power.
What's interesting is how careful he's being with his words. He's not screaming conspiracy or making wild claims. He's planting seeds of doubt with the precision of someone who knows exactly what he's doing. And the timing? Diddy's facing federal charges right now. His whole empire is crumbling. Perfect time for family members to start talking, don't you think? We're not saying Tupac is alive and chilling in Cuba, but when his own brother starts questioning the narrative we've accepted for decades, maybe it's time we started asking some serious questions too. Because if Maprem is right, then everything, and I mean everything, we thought we knew about hip-hop history is about to get blown to pieces. So here's where things get interesting. Back in 2008, Diddy was apparently losing sleep over all the rumors connecting him to Tupac's death. And what does he do? He picks up the phone and calls the Shakur family directly.
The boy Puffy called me though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's, you know, I know who you are, but we never met.
Think about that for a second. Innocent people don't usually feel the need to call up a M victim's family 12 years after the fact to explain themselves. But Diddy was rattled enough by street talk and whispers that he reached out through radio host Big Boy to set up a conversation with Maprem. Picture that phone call. Diddy's probably got his whole team around him, maybe even lawyers, and he's trying to convince Tupac's brother that he had absolutely nothing to do with the shooting, swearing up and down that he's innocent. But here's the thing, Maprem wasn't buying it. Not then, not now. His response was pure gold. The truth always comes out. 4 words that probably haunt Diddy's dreams to this day. And Maprem was right about that. Fast forward to 2025 and look where we are. Diddy's facing federal racketeering charges. His mansions got raided. People are talking who never talked before. The walls are closing in. That 2008 phone call was supposed to be damage control. Diddy thought he could smooth things over with the family, maybe even get them to publicly support his innocence. Instead, it backfired completely. Why? Because Maprem saw right through it. He listened politely, accepted the denials, but never truly believed them. And now, 17 years later, he's on TV basically saying Diddy's story doesn't hold water.
We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there.
If Diddy was completely innocent, why was he so worried about the rumors that he felt the need to personally reach out to the victim's family? Innocent people usually just ignore false accusations and move on with their lives. But Diddy couldn't ignore them. The whispers were getting louder. People were starting to connect the dots. And he knew he needed to get ahead of the story. Problem is, once you start making desperate phone calls to convince people of your innocence, you've already lost the game. And Baprim's prophecy is finally coming true. The truth really is coming out. And here's where things get absolutely crazy. You know how Diddy has been denying any involvement with Tupac's death for decades. Well, now it turns out federal investigators have been sitting on some pretty damning evidence this whole time. We're talking about secret police recordings where Diddy's name gets mentioned 47 times. 47 times in connection with Tupac's shooting. And this isn't some random gossip or street rumors. These are official law enforcement interrogation tapes with Keffe D, the guy who's now charged with Tupac's M.
Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
Yeah, he looks at me.
Keffe D didn't just whisper these allegations in some dark alley. He sat across from federal agents with recording equipment rolling and allegedly described in detail how Diddy offered millions for both Tupac and Suge Knight's heads. The exact quote that keeps popping up in these files? Diddy allegedly said, "I'll give anything for that dude's head." Now think about this logically. Why would federal prosecutors keep these recordings locked away for decades if they didn't contain serious evidence? Why would Keffe D's statements be considered credible enough to charge him with M based on his own confessions? Here's the really freaky part. These tapes have been sitting in evidence lockers all this time while Diddy was building his empire, winning awards, making speeches about peace and unity. Every public appearance, every denial, every time he claimed innocence, those 47 mentions were just waiting in the shadows. And now with Diddy facing federal racketeering charges and his whole operation under investigation, those old recordings suddenly look like smoking G's instead of ancient history. The timing is perfect if you think about it. Federal prosecutors love to use old evidence to build pattern cases. If they can prove Diddy was running a criminal enterprise now, what's to stop them from going back and connecting it to alleged crimes from the 1990s?
Puffy called and said, "Was that us?" And you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Yeah, you're right.
There's also, you go into the book, that apparently there was supposed to be $1 million.
Keffe D's detailed descriptions of million-dollar bounties and M-plots weren't just talk. They were potential evidence that could finally tie Diddy to the biggest unsolved M in music history. And if those recordings ever see a courtroom, Diddy's carefully constructed narrative about his innocence is going to crumble faster than his business empire. And federal agents weren't even looking for Tupac evidence when they raided Diddy's mansions. They were hunting for modern stuff. ST, racketeering, financial crimes, but sometimes the biggest discoveries happen by complete accident. Buried deep in Diddy's personal files, agents found documents labeled with one word that sent conspiracy theories absolutely wild: Cuba. And before you roll your eyes and think that this is just random paperwork, remember that Tupac's aunt, Assata Shakur, has been living in Cuban exile since 1984. Now, coincidences do happen, but in a federal investigation of this magnitude, nothing is really